Mic check, mic check. Welcome to On the Mic with Ray White, where we share life lessons, encourage self-reflection, and equip you to take action. My name is Ray White, and I am juiced that you're taking time to listen to this episode today. And this episode is the final episode of 2020. I know a lot of us are excited to say that, right? The final something of 2020. This year has been nothing short of a lot. It's been a lot for everyone who has been going through this, whether they've experienced the worst of the worst or even just slightly above that. This has been a year that everybody's been hit with something of another. And as excited as we are to take that step to the next year, to 2021, to look ahead and put this year behind all of us, there is still some value in us taking a moment to reflect, to take a minute to look at this previous year in any way that you want to, but just taking a moment to step back and think, all right, what did I experience? What did I learn? How will I take this lesson and the things that I've learned into the next year as we transition into this next phase? So that's what this episode is all about. If you're new to the podcast, welcome to the On the Mic with Ray White podcast. Essentially, this is me providing a platform and space to reflect on the various things that we experience in life, to pull out the lessons that we can take with us as we take action in the areas that we want to move into, the goals that we set for ourselves, the opportunities that we want to reach, the heights that we want to see and excel to. And I'm a reflective guy. I do all that a lot. So you hear a lot of those stories and reflections throughout the podcast if you listen to previous episodes. Speaking of which, let's talk about the podcast for a moment. So not only is this going to be a reflective of 2020, this is also a quick reflection of the OTM podcast within itself, because we have just reached 2 years of this podcast in existence. Y'all, what? 2 years of On the Mic with Ray White? Yeah, it's been 2 years. It's blowing my mind as well. I sat back and I'm like, yeah, I actually been doing this for a couple of years now. And really quick, the things that I've grown to learn as I've been working into this space for the past 2 years, with doing 2 years, 70 episodes in total, had 11 guests on the podcast so far. I have been able to be asked to do 5 speaking gigs over the course of this last year, especially 5 speaking gigs while in this time of the podcast, as well as utilize the knowledge that I've learned of developing podcasts, content creation, digital marketing, social media, all that kind of stuff to help 2 clients get their strategies off the ground and even their content and podcasts off the ground as well. And that's just, a small snippet of some of the tangible things that I was able to do, but the intangibles, the qualitative actions of just building up confidence, practicing consistency, practicing crafting a message, being able to learn how to navigate all the ins and outs of running a business, a solo business, solopreneur in that regard. And using those techniques that I pulled from just my life, from work, family, and sports, finding a way to package it into this platform and business, and then be able to vice versa, turn right around and see how I've learned through this space to help enhance the way that I show up into the world. So I have just been very blessed to be able to use this platform to help share my knowledge, share what I've learned and lessons I've learned, but more importantly, just create a space where dialogue can happen, reflection can happen, and hopefully some opportunities where people could feel confident in taking steps to talk with one another, to see what they can do and utilize the lessons that they've learned to take action in their spaces too. So I thank you for you all rocking with me. I thank you for helping me stay on this, stay consistent, keep me accountable in this space, and allowing me to grow too. So more to come on what that looks like as we get to the end of the episode. But I want to circle back to the lessons of 2020. So there are 5 lessons I'm going to quickly highlight with you all that I have learned throughout this year. The first one being, and I'll run through all 5 and then we'll go double back into them. So 1, family is still first. 2, you got to stand for humanity. 3, you need to take care of yourself. 4, don't be afraid to ask for help. And then 5, move with intention. So let's double back. First one, family still first. 2020, as we all talked about, for about 9-10 months of it, we was all at home. Or I guess maybe shorter than that, depending on some people how they felt about the pandemic. But for a lot of the world, we were asked to stay home. We were asked to quarantine. We were asked to practice physical distancing, social distancing, however you want to articulate that. And that in that time, there was a lot that we were all processing and going forth and trying to navigate personally and interpersonally with one another. For me, knowing that I moved from being, as we all were, at our jobs for 8 to 9 hours a day, for 5 days a week, then being home for the weekends and being with family, things of that nature, the flexibility was not as prevalent. Where the pandemic hit and then boom, everybody's in this house, right? Everybody's either in the garage or in their spare bedroom or in the kitchen while chaos and commotion is happening all around them with family and kids and whatnot. And that was my reality. So my wife and I truly switching gears to be doing the work that we need to do on our day jobs in our respective areas while we have toddlers running around in our household. And for me, still knowing that my family I've always said I put my family first, and this just was a continuation of that. So for me, being able to navigate my work schedule, navigate my day to day, to be able to take care of my wife and the kids and help support their needs whenever there's something happening, or being able to shift my schedule so I can focus on them entirely, or even just the thought of letting them come out to my work, or letting them, I'm in the garage, letting them come out here and see me in action and be a part of these Zoom meetings that I'm having with my coworkers, and just, to say, hey, here's my kid, it's going to be a couple minutes, but here they are, and just enjoying that. And I've enjoyed it being here at this time with my family at the stage that they're in, because, we're not going to get this time back. So I get to watch them grow. I get to be a part of their lives. They see dad, more than just the normal or just the previous times pre-COVID. They get to see me more often. And that was fun. So I've enjoyed that. And also just doing whatever I can to say, I'm here, I'm with my family, I'm focused on them, and shifting things to the side so that way I can stay attentive to that. So this biggest lesson is that in this season, regardless of the pandemic, my family still comes first, and I'm making sure that they continue to stay first, regardless of what's going on beyond this household, right? The second thing, stand for humanity. We got to stand for humanity. Not only did we experience just the pandemic for COVID, but there was a lot of the racial injustice or the heightened racial injustice that we experienced over the summer, and the civil unrest that we experienced through that. We had the economic downturn that was a result of the pandemic. We had a lot of protests. We had in the Pacific Northwest, and majority of the Northwest, the West Coast, so wildfires that was occurring. And it was a prime moment to stand up and say, how do we ensure that the people that are around us are still seen as first, that are still valued, that still have worth in our communities and our societies, and that what we want to do is ensure that they are taken care of from a day-to-day perspective, an inner personal relationship, and that making sure that they have what they need, but also systemically, what can we do to make changes as a whole so that these things don't happen again, so that way we don't see more unjust killings, so we don't see people losing their homes for the economy, or unhoused neighbors continuing to be denied access, and we don't see more people get sick over COVID. What can we do personally to make sure that our fellow neighbors are giving everything that they need to succeed and thrive and survive? So standing for humanity has been a big call to action in my life, to find ways that I can be more aware, find ways to be more vocal, find ways to be more active in those spaces, versus just a bystander or somebody who is critiquing without getting in the game and taking action in there and actually using my hands of service to service those. So uh, working to figure out what exactly that looks like or how to continue to move into that space. But more importantly, we got to stand for humanity. We got to stand for the life of others and making sure that they have what they need on a physical perspective, as well as spiritual, emotional, relational, all the things that it takes to for a human to be whole and a human to be worthy, because they are worthy. They have value in this earth. The third thing, you got to take care of yourself. That speaks to me specifically, as all these lessons. I am always a go getter. I'm somebody who loves to be active and involved in as many things that I can, and see a meeting as just another opportunity to connect, right? Another opportunity to network, to get to know some people, to get involved. I love to be involved. Pandemic has easily shut that down, slowed my busybodiness down, and really maybe evaluate the busyness that I was involved with, which I'll speak to at another point. But in the recognizing what is true productivity and what is just busyness, I still felt that I wasn't doing the good enough job of seeing how I'm doing. How am I taking care of my physical health? How am I taking care of my emotions, my spirituality, my mental, my all the health spectrums, more than just the physical aspect, and setting up parameters so that way I can ensure that throughout my day, week, month, and during the year, and even when trials hit, that I'm doing the necessary precautions to make sure that I am doing well. So that included content creating. It's a joy of mine. I love doing this and being able to do this more. Reading, journaling, working out, being able to play with my play with my kids, and play games with my wife, or just just be in conversation and be in relationship with my family, having great conversations with friends and family, things like that, that I had to take a step back and realize what helps me feel good, what helps me feel better throughout my day, or how do I sustain myself throughout the day. So making sure that not only I decided and developed those protocols and parameters, but I was able to know how to say no and know how to not put myself in a situation where I wouldn't constantly be at going on E, right? So knowing it, and this was a prime season to do that because we all were forced to be home. So figuring out a new rhythm was key, and taking care of myself was part of that new rhythm that I feel better about, that by just being in the season and being forced to reflect, feel better about what does it look like to take care of myself in this space. The fourth one, ask for help. So not only as we are trying to figure all this out, right, but there were still some elements that I felt like, okay, I want to take action in, but I just don't know how to do it. And I'm often an observer. So I get a lot of my lessons through watching people and how they react and respond, figure out the system or the structure, and they do it, and then see what does it look like to implement within my space. So if you looked in my podcast library, in my book library, my saved videos on YouTube, there's so many how-tos, or just looking at people or different people's perspectives and personalities of how they handle things, or how they handle a business or lead or take care of their family, whatever things that I'm looking to learn about. I have libraries of those that I look to study and have been studying and trying to figure out, piece together my blueprint. But then being able to not only do that for myself, but be able to speak up and say, all right, I got to talk to somebody about this. I got to have a conversation with people who've been there before and get their 2 cents and checking it just to see, hey, this is what I've been thinking. What are your thoughts? So being able to lean on those individuals even more so, but then speaking up and saying, hey, I need help in this space. Not trying to be cryptic in the way I question me trying to get to exactly where I want to go, but just be like, yo, I need help starting a business. I need help learning how to speak, be a better public speaker. I need help to figure out, what does it mean when we say Black Lives Matter? What does it mean when we want to see equitable solutions in our communities? What does it mean that we are diving into a world that is centered on inclusivity or content creating or whatever, right? So these are just the many questions that I've asked, and being able to find those people and to go specifically to them and say, how do you do this? Help me navigate this well. So for us, knowing that there's a lot that we've experienced and we will continue to experience, asking for help is a good thing. It shows that you want to learn. It shows that you want to grow. So taking the moment to get clear on what it is that you're trying to go towards and what is your hindrance and barriers towards getting there, and then finding those individuals who you can step to and say, I need help to get to this point. Here's what I'm experiencing. Help me get there. How can I get there? And not being afraid for critique or hearing something that may not be what you want to hear, but knowing that's going to help better you moving down the road. So the fifth thing is to move with intention. And what I mean by moving with intent or moving with intention essentially is you have a purpose for every action that you do. Again, the busyness in myself and thinking I'm being productive, I was everywhere thinking I was moving somewhere. But I don't think I really was moving that far. Or if I was moving at a pace that was really slow because I was stretched too thin. I was trying to do all the things and trying to do everything like now, right? I know that there's two thoughts with that. One, I still feel that there's a sense of urgency that I place on my shoulders because I know the limitedness of life and even just the opportunities that we have, and being really good at seeing an opportunity and seizing the moment and not letting that moment pass you by. I also recognize that there's, not everything has to be done right at the second. There are some things that can at least let it develop and grow over time, and breaking down the big goal into smaller chunks and even many actions day to day that will help build up to the bigger goal would reduce the amount of stress and overwhelm that it takes to get to that point, and even helps so focus in on the exact things that need to get done today. So with the pandemic hitting and me thinking like, okay, LLC Twitter is saying, hey, use this pandemic to do all the things you weren't be able to do because you say you didn't have time. You look at your commute, you look at all the things that you used to do, and since you're at home, you've gained 5 hours a day. So what can you do in that 5 hours that you can build towards your dream? And since I had like 12 different dreams, I was like, okay, yeah, I can do this, and this. I took a hard look over the summer as well. There was a lot of hard looks in the summer, and saying, I want to clearly define where I'm moving towards. And by clearly defining that, breaking it down to simple steps, so that way I can look at it from a day-to-day basis and say, yes, I am moving specifically to this goal, or this specific, I can say yes to this action because it will help me get to this goal, versus just doing all things to please all people, to be everywhere, to think that's gonna build me up, and in actuality it's just wearing me down. So I've been the definitions that I've been, or the defining areas that I'm looking to step into, gearing towards effective communicating in the spaces of first gen students and helping first gen students be successful in their college and careers, and also looking at building up anti-racist, anti-bias leaders within our institutions. And it's true, those two things are still big, right? They're monumentous. They're still large goals to reach, right? But even then, I feel confident to say, okay, I feel good about stepping into those spaces because these are spaces that I have been developing for myself and want to be a part of those conversations to aid folks who are who are looking to advance in their leadership as being an anti-racist leader or anti-bias leader, and even those students who are looking to be successful in their college and careers, especially the first generation college students. And so since I am seeing myself in those spaces, I'm still navigating exactly how to be an advocate in those spaces, but still the actions that I'm now taking are geared towards that. How will reading this book help me in communicating in this space? Or how would writing this book help me effectively get footing into this space? And that's important. So thinking about the intentions or the things that we're wanting to strive towards, and make sure that the steps that we take are geared to that, it is vital. And by being in a pandemic, it allowed that opportunity to sit back and think about that more closely and start shedding away the things that really aren't moving in that direction. So those are my 5 lessons. Just, small things, but no, pretty big things of keeping my family first, making sure that continue to stand for humanity, taking care of yourself, asking for help, and move with intention. So I want to hear from you. How many things, no, scrap that. I want to hear one thing that you've learned in 2020 that you look to carry forward with you into 2021. I gave you 5. I'm just asking for one from you, because it's important that we take a minute and sit back and think about these things as we're taking those steps. And so for you in these next few days of 2020 that's left, or even as you carry over to 2021, because there's no time limit for how long you should be reflecting on the past. And so whenever you're listening to this, whether it is in 2020 or at the beginning of 2021 or in 2022, whatever, what have you learned in this past year? What is something that really you are going to grab hold to that has shaped the way that you see the world, that you see yourself, that you see those that you love and those that you don't know, but we should love because they are neighbors? And how will that take a hold of your actions as you moved into 2021? So there it is. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Hey, we're still going, all right? Even though I said we got 2 years, 70 episodes, we got more episodes coming your way, all right? We got more interviews coming into the podcast. I'm super excited to bring some guests on just to continue to share their knowledge, their lessons, the things that they've learned to help embark and help shape those who are looking to step into their shoes. I'm excited to have more life lessons because I'm still living life, right? I have more life lessons to share with you and package them in a way to help you take action. And we are on YouTube, y'all. We on YouTube. We've been on YouTube for a minute, and now we're promoting it, putting more content onto that space to showcase more ways that you can see me in action, see the guest in action, and just another new way to interact with the content as well. So I appreciate y'all listening. I appreciate y'all rocking with me for these past 2 years, and we got more years coming. If you please follow me at Ray Devante on all social platforms and as well on YouTube as well. You can find this podcast there and other content of me speaking. And I'm excited to share more knowledge in this space, talk about first-gen college student success, talk about how to be an anti-racist and anti-racist leader for your organization, talk about how we can continue to make moves in our communities and continue to build up those individuals that are our neighbors. So next episode is going to be all about what 2021 looks like and my perspective for that. And for now, have a safe, very safe New Year's. Take care of the loved ones. Take care of yourself. And Happy New Year. Talk to you soon. Peace. What up? What up? Thanks so much for watching this episode of On the Mic Sound Check. I hope that you got a tremendous value from listening to the message. And if you did, please be sure to like this episode, subscribe to the YouTube channel, share with me what brought you value and how it's going to help you take action, as well as share this episode with a friend so that they can also help them move towards whatever endeavor and goals that they want to reach. And if you want more content, because you know your boy got some more content, follow me on social media, as well as subscribe to my podcast, On the Mic with Ray White, where every episode is geared towards sharing life lessons, encouraging self-reflection, and equipping you to take action. I encourage you all to continue to share your story with others, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.